Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, I make programming tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to discuss about nested conditional statement, or you can call it nested control statement or maybe nested if-else statement. This video includes what is nested conditional statement in Python, syntax of nested conditional statement in Python, example of nested conditional statement in Python, implementing that example in Atom, running the program in Common Shell. Stick to the end of this video because implementing that example in Atom is going to be fun. If you are watching only this video, I'd highly recommend you to watch my previous videos where I discussed about if statement, if-else statement, and if-elif else statement. It will make the better understanding of yours in this topic. Basically, if we use only if statement, we can execute a block of code only if the condition is satisfied. But if-else statement allows us to execute either condition is satisfied or not satisfied. If-elif else statement extends the if-else statement and allows us to check multiple conditions. So, what is nested conditional statement, or you can call it nested control statement? When there is an if statement or if-else statement or if-elif else statement, inside an if statement or if-else statement or if-elif else statement, we can call this nested if-else statement or nested control statement or nested conditional statement. Here is the syntax of nested conditional statement in Python. As you can see here, I have written an if condition, and then inside that if condition there's another if condition, and as you can see inside the else condition there's also another if condition. So this thing that inside an if condition or else condition or elif condition, if comes another if condition or else condition or elif condition, then this thing is called the nesting of control statements. Here is an example. I declared a variable called n and assigned 50 in it. And then I wrote the if condition, that is, if n is less than 200, then print n is less than 200. And then comes my nested if condition, which is if n is less than 100, then print n is even less than 100. And if my first if condition here, which is n is less than 200, is not satisfied, then comes my else condition, which is n is greater than 200. If else condition is executed, then it prints n is greater than 200. And then comes our nested if condition. N can be greater than 300. If that happens, that our nested if condition is executed and it prints n is greater than 300. So what happens here is, if our first if condition is satisfied, then Python executes this print statement here, which is n is less than 200. And then Python comes to check the nested if condition, which is if n is less than 100. Then Python executes this print statement here, which is n is even less than 100. If our if condition, the first one, n is less than 200 is not satisfied, then Python doesn't execute anything in this block. Python directly comes to the else condition and prints the n is greater than 200. And then Python checks the nested if condition inside the else condition, which is if n is greater than 300. And then Python prints the n is greater than 300. Let's write down our code to have a better understanding. So now here I am in the Atom. I'm going to write down my code. I'm declaring a variable called n and assigning 50 in it. And then comes my if condition. If n is less than 200, colon, then print n is less than 200. And then comes my nested condition. If n is less than 100. So Python first will check if n is less than 200 or not, and if this comes as true, Python will check if n is less than 100 or not. If that becomes true, then Python will print n is even less than 100. If this condition is not satisfied, Python won't check anything inside this. It will directly come to the else condition. Else print n is greater than 200. So if this condition is executed, then Python will come to check the nested if condition, which I'm going to write down here. If n is greater than 300, then print n is even greater than 300. Let's save the file. I'm going to run this in the common shell. So the command I'm going to use here is for Windows cd desktop / the folder name where I saved my Python file, and then I have to write down the file name, which is nested.py. Make sure to use that .py extension in your file name, otherwise your file won't work. So now I'm going to press enter. So this is our output, which is n is less than 200, n is even less than 100. Let's have a look at our code here. So this is the code where our n, the value of our n variable was 50. So 50 is obviously less than 200, and then it's also less than 100. So Python executes this statement here and then comes to check this one, if n is less than 100. So that's true, so Python executes this one also. So what happens if n is like, let's write down 500, n is 500, and save our file and see what happens. Nested.py, press enter. So this is the output here. N is greater than 200, n is even greater than 300. So as n is now equal 500, so this if statement is not executed at all, and Python directly comes to the else statement, this one here, and Python prints this one, n is greater than 200, and then Python checks this nested if statement if n is greater than 300 also, and as this is true here, so Python executes this print statement, which prints here n is even greater than 300. So this is our output here. I hope this video was helpful for you. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. It encourages me to make more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. Till we code again.